we have got to get to one of the games of the year, ladies and gentlemen. What we saw tonight could not be believed. It's the Fruita Wildcats at 1-2, looking for a 9th straight win against their rival, the Grand Junction Tigers. Undefeated at 3-0, so hungry to take down their rival. For the first time in a decade, this place was buzzing from the moment it was kicked off, and after both teams failed to score on their first drive, Fruita strikes first on their second. Chris Bennett puts the Wildcats up 7-0, and the fans, they are excited. Ensuing drive for Grand Junction. Will Applegate finds Drew Marsh wide open in the end zone. What a response by the Tigers. PAT was no good. It's 7-6. And Fruita milked the clock with their veer offense. So under 2 minutes to go in the half, and again open as Marsh with space, and he gets leveled. And yeah, that's a late hit. Tack on 15 more for the Tigers. Very next play, Applegate looking around. Guess who? Open again is number 10. The second score for Marsh. And just like that, as we head to halftime, Grand Junction has the 14-7 lead on Fruita. Second half, and after a Fruita fumble, the give is to Matthias Martinez. What a cut, and Martinez has nothing but green grass in front of him all the way home for 6, and the Tigers are feeling it. They have a 21-7 lead on a team that usually blows them out. But after some fourth down stops and fumbles, Fruita got it deep in Tiger territory, and it's the QB keeper for Cooper Rao who punches it in, as Fruita is not going away. They didn't beat Grand Junction 8 straight times for nothing, ladies and gentlemen. Fruita is back within 7. Folks, Fruita would then score again. They would score again. They would tie this game actually at 21. So we would go to overtime. As you see the Fruita fans very excited. And so here we go, folks. Fruita had the lead, 27-26, or 27-21. It's 4th and goal for the Grand Junction Tigers. One more chance. One more play. It's Applegate. Looking down the field to the end zone. It is caught. That is Drew Marsh in the back of the end zone. Are you kidding me? And so Grand Junction, just like that, is an extra point away from winning the game. And so on the extra point, to win it, it's up and it is good. So for the first time in a decade, after some confusion with the refs, we got the call. The Grand Junction Tigers have beaten their rival. They have beaten the Fruita Wildcats. They are 4-0, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time since 2013. What a football game. What a finish, Titus. I was just there moments ago. It has been a scramble all night, but it was so worth it to watch an unbelievable finish.
Your voice right there is kind of getting a little, you're losing it because of the excitement that you're showing for this game. I mean, what was the atmosphere like at Stoker Stadium a few minutes ago?
We had expected it to be a big crowd and to be energetic throughout, and it absolutely was. For all 4 quarters, both sides were packed to the brim. But in that overtime period, you could just feel that energy, and then Grand Junction had 4 chances at the end zone. Their first 3 chances, great defense by Fruita, incomplete passes. But then when the time came to go win the football game, Will Applegate has proved time and time again this season he's made the plays. It's not what we've seen in the past with Grand Junction. It's winning football. They are making the plays when they have to. And Drew Marsh, have a game, young man. 3 touchdowns, and of course the big one in the end zone. And that missed extra point for Fruita, it looms large in this game, because that right there was the difference. But an unbelievable game, a great performance by Fruita, great performance by both teams. That was Grand Junction and Fruita at their best. The rivalry is back. The Tigers are back. Football is back and at its best right here in the Grand Valley, ladies and gentlemen. It's unbelievable.
It is something to watch. But let's look for a couple more games that took place on the Western Slope tonight, starting with the Montrose Redhawks, as they were victorious tonight against the Central Warriors by a score 50-14, pushing their record to 4-0 on the season. Their next matchup will be against the Fruita Wildcats, Will.
And yeah, a big local game happening there in Montrose. We were looking forward to that one. We saw that game at Stoker last season. But Montrose, they look as dominant as they have last year, and even better. Of course, last year they come basically a team away from a state championship, losing to Erie in the state Final Four, who eventually won the state championship. They don't have to worry about Erie anymore. Erie is now in 5A. Montrose is showing what they can do with that triple option offense. Their offensive defensive lines dominant, the best we have on the Western Slope. Central, they hung tough, as they usually do in the first half. We're used to seeing the Warriors hanging tough in that first half, down by just 2 scores. But in the end, of course, Montrose would pull away in that one.
Yeah, Montrose is a team that feel like they're riding high on all cylinders. And Fruita, again, cannot get it done. They moved up to 5A, but they still lost to Grand Junction right here tonight. What do you see from the Wildcats that really gives you the impression that they can continue to be competitive on the Western?
It's going to be tough in 5A. It is going to be tough in 5A. There is no denying it. I think in reality, if you look at this Fruita team, it isn't the same as what we saw last year when they were in 4A. I think even if they were in 4A, they would still have their struggles, as we saw with Grand Junction. Grand Junction is a great team. But with Fruita, it's about the veer offense, right? 3 yards in a cloud of dust. They move it methodically, and I don't know if they have the size up front to compete with the big 5A schools, especially the Valor Christians of the world, that they're going to have to compete with later this season. And look, Fruita, they played a good game with their offense. They moved the ball. They scored 27 points, and they moved it slowly and methodically. And the offensive line had a good performance, but it is going to be tough against those big 5A schools.
Oh, man, let's get to the next game that took place. The Durango Demons versus the Palisade Big Bulldogs, my apologies. The Demons would pick up the win tonight against the Bulldogs, 32-14, evening their record on the season at 2-2. With the loss, the Bulldogs are now 2-2 as well on the season. The Bulldogs' next matchup will be against the Grand Junction Central Warriors. And as for the Demons, they will face off against the Grand Junction Tigers. Out of those 2 games, Will, which one are you looking forward to the most?
Central Palisade is awesome.
Okay.
I've been looking forward to that one. We've circled before the year because, again, it's 3A versus 4A. So you get a chance to see Palisade, who's a lot better than last year, play a Central team that overall probably similar to last year. Last year, Central got that win by 2 touchdowns. That's going to be a fun game. We're going to have that game at Stoker. It's going to be close. And Palisade's a different squad. I know they lost to a great Durango team, and that's going to be a tough test for the Tigers next week. Durango, they're a 4A school. They're no joke. They gave the Palisade Bulldogs everything they could handle this week. It's going to be a tough road trip next week for Grand Junction.
I mean, I think all teams that played here tonight was outstanding. I think that game you watched was the game of the night. But if I had to say, I'm loving what I'm seeing from Delta and the Panthers there. They have been playing great since they lost that first game to the Palisade Bulldogs. And Ty Reed is showing that he's made for the moment. He's poised, he's composed, he wants the moment, and he shows out every single day.
Delta is about as solidified a program as you'll find out here. I mean, year in and year out, they're going to compete for championships. And, you know, the big question for us was you lose your Hall of Fame, your legendary head coach, 15 years, Ben Johnson. How does Jesse Kendig, the defensive coordinator, come in and start calling plays on offense? Well, look at their offense. It's humming week in and week out. And as you mentioned, it's the quarterback. It's the experience with Ty Reed, and similar. Grand Junction and Delta is similar. You can't put into words how important it is to have that experience at the quarterback position. For Will Applegate, he's seen it since he was a freshman, as is Ty Reed. Both guys played football as freshmen, were starters their sophomore, junior year, and of course now their senior year. And we're seeing what happens. They are dominating because they've seen it before. They know what to expect, and they're playing great ball. It's fun to watch.
It's fun to watch. Friday Night Frenzy, you can always expect to see some highlights at the end or at the beginning because the Grand Junction, teams on the Western Slopes deliver the best games over here. But
every week we'll be here. We're loving it. We're loving it. I don't know if we'll get a game as great as the one we saw last night, as great as the one as we saw week 1, Delta Palisade, but every week is full of surprises, I'll tell you that.
I am loving it. But that is a wrap on Friday Night Frenzy. I'm Titus Cleveland, and he's
Big Will Evanson.
And we will see you guys next week with more action.